Uh, Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon in Israel and good morning in America. I'd like to welcome everyone to this event in memory of Karen Bat Levana Yutan V'Chaim Bell Eisenberg. I see a lot of friends here, teachers, also family members. And again, I want to thank Nishmat and Rabbi Henkin and Julie Weissman for this idea and for enabling this event to take place. We have about an hour, and I'd like to ask everyone to mute yourselves unless you're speaking. And for everyone who wants to speak briefly, a couple of minutes about Karen. Zichronah livracha. I also want to thank the people that are learning Mishnayot in her memory as well. I don't have a lot to say. I'll just begin by very brief memory of Karen arriving at Nishmat in the early 90s, 92, I think, the third year of Nishmat, as a graduate of Harvard Law School, and immediately was perceived by all of us as one of our most brilliant students, but also one of the most vivacious and friendly and outgoing and caring people that we had in our community. And for many of us, that was the beginning of a very long-term relationship, which developed over the years in Yerushalayim, in Eli, afterwards in Efrat, and back in the States. And it's very meaningful for me to see such an outpouring of love in this forum and in the days leading up to it. So I will open the floor. I wanted to just begin first by asking if Sadiq wants to speak first, since I think he was the closest to Karen most recently. But totally up to you.
Okay. Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. These I haven't really looked at this. I was thinking about it after this happened, and up to the time of the Levaya, a lot of it was banging around in my head, and I just kind of wrote it all down on the plane. I ended up having to fly in from Florida because I was visiting my mother on the exact day of the Levaya. So it was like on that day, I just wrote everything down that was in my head, and I haven't really wanted to look at it since then. So I'm gonna just read like what I would have said at the Levaya. In the past few days, I've been hearing from so many people your life touched, who have known you for decades. I was able to only share a small part of your life, but I'm overwhelmed at how much intense caring and love you have given me in the time we had. As I was packing to travel here, nearly everything I touched you chose for me. Every bit of clothing I'm wearing now, the funny t-shirts you thought I'd like, the luggage you saw I needed since mine was falling apart, prescriptions you made sure were filled. Your utter devotion to me made it easy for me to overlook the many others who received of that love and care. I was only able to meet Or, Shavtil, and Megid for the first time this past Thanksgiving, but I felt I already knew them since you spoke of them so much. There was never a doubt how loved they each were, and how you constantly were thinking of them, how much you cherished every memory of their childhood and growing up, and how proud you were of them. You often spoke of your work colleagues and what a special environment it was, and your gratitude at being a part of it. You identified strongly with Harvard, where you stood out as an unbeatable debater. You often wore the Harvard banner and took great pride in being part of that rarefied community. You'd respond to my mention of some well-known political figures with stories of having met them personally on the Harvard Law campus or in the classroom, even calling them by their nicknames. Your life was infused with Judaism, and your home was filled with books about Jewish topics in Israel, with authors from Nechama Leibowitz to Alan Dershowitz. You could discuss halacha with the same confidence as you could Supreme Court precedents and debate them both fiercely, while being equally fierce in your listening. You treated everyone that came into your life with the greatest respect and dignity, even those so many of us with our impossibly foolish egos take for granted. I was struck by how you warmly greeted all the condo building staff by name every time you saw them, and remembered every kindness each one had done for you, no matter how small or how long ago. You even got yourself elected onto the condo board so you could advocate for giving them the raises they had long ago earned. Karen, there are so many things I could talk about only with you because no one else would have possibly understood. So many things you knew about me that I could never know about myself. You embraced my many annoying quirks, patiently indulged all my geeky obsessions, no matter how long I prattled on. You tolerated my endless attempts to argue my novel legal theories with only the occasional reminder that I never went to law school. You were my parachute from my many half-baked impulsive plans, at least when I had the sense to listen. You always tried, even though I didn't always let you succeed. But that never stopped you from being there to help clean up the mess I made. You had a heart much bigger than I deserved, and a part of me is missing that nothing can heal. Although you hardly ever mentioned it to anyone, I came to know that you were in constant pain in almost every part of your body and spirit. None of your many doctors and medications were able to bring you a moment's peace from it. Even your sleep was haunted by it. 2 strokes had robbed your mind and body of its speed and sharpness, leaving you with constant painful reminders of what you could no longer do. My attempts to verbally spar with you often left you exhausted, frustrated. You could no longer debate the way you once could. Your struggles to keep up with my aimless wandering around the country challenged your stamina. You still did those things due to your limitless supply of love. The fact you were able to keep all your pain hidden and only focus on how you could give peace and comfort to me and others is something I'll never understand or come close to having the strength for. You are stronger than me in every possible way. Karen, your patience for me is endless. I know that you have already forgiven me for the many ways I fell short in my appreciation for what you gave me. I shudder when I think of how often I forgot your limits, failed in my patience, became lost to my ego, took your devotion for granted, and maybe even added to your pain. I prepared these words to speak at the Levaya, but didn't get the opportunity to do so. It occurred to me there were times when you needed me to speak and I failed to do so. So when I wanted to speak, I was unable to measure for measure. I only pray for God to help me one day forgive myself for the things I know you deserve that I didn't give you. You are free from all your pain now, but everyone you touched is left to go on, only now becoming aware of how much you've lost. Goodbye, Karen. You had so much more life to live and caring to give. I know you'd only want us to use our overwhelming grief to try to put aside some of our own pains and complaints, cut our egos down to size, try to brighten all the lives you no longer are able to enter, and learn to appreciate those who give to us. If my only success in life would be to tell of your greatness as a friend and as a partner, and to testify to all you've given me, my life would be worthwhile. In my dreams, heaven has a Supreme Court. You're on the bench with all your mental and physical powers restored and all your pain washed away. Even then, in my foolishness, I'd still try to match wits with you, but you'd still have to patiently remind me that I never went to law school. I'll always love and cherish you, Karen. Goodbye.
Thank you for sharing with us very much. The floor is open, unless if Megan wants to say something, I'll give you first choice, but it's up to you.
There isn't a lot that I can add that I don't, that Zadok hasn't said. Zadok, I really appreciated everything that you said, and I'm just really, really glad that my mom got to have you in the last few years of her life. I know she was alone and lonely for a long time, and you helped a lot with that. She was, no one has a perfect relationship, but she really loved you and cared about you and was really happy that you were in her life. So thank you for that. And I guess want to echo that.
Thanks. I wish I'm glad I met you under a happy circumstance, and at least once. And I'm sorry that the next time I met you, this had happened. I hope we can stay in touch.
Yeah.
I enjoyed our time together and during the happy times.
And I just want to take just one more moment to just acknowledge how strong of a person my mom was. Like, I always knew it, but it's when things like this happen that where you have that clarity of like all of the times where she could have done one thing and chose to do the stronger thing. She really did. Like, it's not like she avoided talking about the pain she was in, but she never put it front and center. She never was trying to make people feel bad for her. She was just dealing with a lot, and but was always focused on moving forward, continuing to live her life to the fullest that she could. And it's not something that I fully appreciated about her when she was alive, but it's definitely something that I want to take with me moving forward. And I hope that everyone here can do that a little bit as well. It's all she would have wanted for all of us. So yeah, I think I'm done.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, whoever of Karen's friends or that's here would like to share something, please just unmute yourself and do so.
May I speak? I might just have a few minutes. I feel a little humble because a lot of, my name is Liz Lampert. I used to be, you knew me maybe as Liz Moore many years ago. And I knew Karen for a long time, maybe a little less closely than when many of us who are here today lived together. I've tried to remember exactly when I met Karen, but I met a lot of our chevra before I met Karen. And I just remember that the lead up to meeting Karen, everybody among our friends, many of whom are here today, were like, have you met Karen Eisenberg? She had gone to Harvard. And I think, a lot of our other friends had been in college together at Princeton. And so, boy, I wasn't disappointed when I met her. She was everything both Tzvi and Megan have said and more, like just unbelievably, brilliant. What a fast talker. Have you ever heard anybody talk as fast as Karen? A fast talker, a debater, and just so incredibly brilliant. She reached out to me. We supported one another a lot, I'd like to think, over the years, especially in the years since I left Israel many years ago. And she was exactly as Megan said. She never it was never woe is me, but she would sort of just matter-of-factly report the information. Some of the news really bad. We don't want to focus on the bad news of a person's life, but she had a lot of challenges, and she'd bemoaned the fact that she had lost some brain cells. I never felt that I was still even coming close to keeping up with Karen, despite that. It was like unreal. What did your IQ drop from, like 220 to 195? She was just a force to be reckoned with. And I see from your laughter that I think a lot of you probably agree. Megan, I want to take the opportunity. I know I've told you this story, so pardon me for, like, once again being the prototypical overbearing Jewish mother. But one thing that's really special about having you here today is I get to remind you of the night you were born, because I got to be there, which was great. And that's the focus of my life's work. And I'll just never forget that night racing to Jerusalem with your mom and dad, and just how beautiful you were, and just how elated your parents were, and how relieved I was that we made it, because that was a thing back then, right? In Ely, I think there was at least one baby who came out in the car for me. And I think maybe a couple of others here who had babies after I left who also came out in cars. She was just incredible. I want to say just another, I don't want to go on too long, but I want to say something from my own experience with Karen, okay? She always looked at the bright side. So if you ever needed that, she was the best person to have around. And I don't feel that I measured up to Karen. I needed her. I was resilient too, I think, in a lot of ways, but Karen was just unbelievably resilient. And if you needed that resilience and you didn't have enough of your own, she didn't hesitate to give it to you. So when the going is tough, and a lot of people, may like say little or do nothing. That was not Karen's MO. She was not going to say little or do nothing. She was a principled person And if, if she could help you and felt in any way that she could, she did. And I was strengthened by that in all of the years that I knew her. I got married again. It took me a lot of years. So Karen and I were both single mothers for a long time. And that's a hard life in a lot of ways. But when I was getting married, we decided we were doing it here, in the neighborhood. It was sort of, we're like midlife marriage. Why make a big thing? Karen jumped in her car, I'm sure it was that Mini Cooper, and just barreled up here. I tried to say, we're not even having our family. Nobody's coming to this thing except people in the neighborhood. And there was Karen. And that's the kind of friend that she was. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot else, but I wanted to share that with you. I loved her. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. There are people who were here that knew you before you were more, even if you remember. That's for another discussion.
I think there are people here who knew me before I was an adult, I think. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Toby, Vakasha.
Okay, I see in the windows, and some listed on the side who are not in the windows, other women from our Raise Your Spirits theater. And we knew Karen from a very different perspective, not as a Harvard debater, though I think we all realized how brilliant she was, but she was one of the most helpful and giving and dedicated people that we ever had in our cast and crew. And she would have a small part here and there in the cast, but I'm going to say something that if you're not involved in theater, this is going to sound to you maybe like a little thing, but she was very often our mic lady. Now, anyone who, you can nod your heads if you know how important that is. We needed someone who was smart and calm. And I guess those are the two most important, smart and calm. And that was only one way that we knew her, in addition to the fact that many of us knew her we were friends of hers. I was a personal friend of hers. But I just wanted to also put that out there. I see Netta smiling there, that she was like this island of calmness when we were running, when women were running backstage, and and she was organized, and like you're talking about her brain cells. I mean, here is a woman she was one of the most humble, modest people I ever knew. Like this brilliant lawyer who, like you say, her library was, tremendous library. She could talk about anything. And yet when it came to doing this very specific job, she was there, she was humble about it, she just got it done. And she was a presence. She was a presence I think we all loved. And I also visited her at her home and when she was in the hospital and got the opportunity to hang out with her a little. And I have a story, which I'm not going to give any of the details because we don't have time and it doesn't matter anyway. But I had some legal issue that had to do with someone in America who owed me money. And I talked to Karen about it because she's a lawyer. And she said, well, I have a friend who knows how to take care of things like that. And she put me in touch with her friend, and her friend put me in touch with another friend. And as a result of Karen's outreach, when one of my daughters got married and another daughter was in Canada with her husband and her whole family on a postdoc, I was able to collect the money and bring the entire family in. And literally, I got the notice the same week that we had to order the ticket, instead of for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the time, 5. And it was because of Karen. In other words, she had, nobody there knew what a part she had in our family simcha, because of her caring and her love and her connection to people and knowing someone who would know someone. And that's just one special story that my family has with her. But I loved hanging out with her. After I got the notice about that, I brought over a 6-pack of beer to her, and we sat and had a great time with that, although I'm not really a beer drinker. And she was just a wonderful friend to everybody. Okay, I think I'll stop now because there might be someone else who wants to say something.
Thank you, Toby, very much.
I'd love to say something, if that's okay.
Please.
My name's David Hilfstein. So I met Karen when she lived in Efrat, and a mutual friend connected us because she was looking for someone to sort of house sit for the boys when she would go to America to do various legal things with her personal life. And I think we met in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. And we've been friends ever since. Obviously, like, didn't get to see each other as much through the years as either of us would have liked to, because well, I moved back to the States. She was still in Efrat. Then when she moved back here, I remember she texted me a few years ago asking me to come down to Baltimore to help her unpack. And she'd been in already a couple of years, but apparently she wasn't unpacked yet. I said, sure, Karen, I'll be right there. That actually never worked out. But I wrote something when I found out last week. So I'll read this, and then I'll just, maybe add in a couple of personal things. So she was more than a close friend. She was a second mother to me when I lived in Israel for 7 years. She was one of the many women who welcomed me with open arms and a loving heart into their family and said, consider yourself adopted. The times we shared were priceless. Even when I house sat her 3 pre-teen boys, we all had so much fun. You were a 3-time Harvard graduate, cum laude with a law degree and a doctorate, with a whip-smart, brilliant mind in ways that I wasn't sure existed. You loved watching Survivor and talking pop culture. And you know how much I love talking about the nonsense. So it was always, we would go on and on about whatever reality show she was watching or whoever she wanted to talk about in pop culture. I'll miss our hyper verbose talks when each of us tries to get a word in. You were special, extra special, a genius. Your wit, your humor, your heart, all so big. You loved so abundantly and generously. That's what I loved about you the most. You always believed in me, in my career dreams, often sending me casting opportunities that led to some of my most cherished acting roles. You encouraged me to keep going, even when things looked dim and I was down and I didn't know what to do. You used to tell me what kind of woman I should marry and then try and set me up with people, even when I was reluctant, including a beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed young woman in Efrat who just happened to be a family friend. Of course you did, because you wanted to be related, and I was totally okay with that. I hope your 3 boys all know how much you love them. I can't imagine the loss they're feeling right now. I'm still waiting on our call to catch up. You kept apologizing for forgetting to call me back. You were dealing with some health problems, and I knew you weren't intentionally ignoring me. We were just trying to figure out when we both had time. The last text I sent to you said, no worries. Soon we'll catch up. So I just want to say that I think, unlike a lot of you, and I don't know all of you, but I lived in Efrat for a little while, and from about 2008 until I think around 2013 or 14, Karen would kind of, we were always friends, but she would call on me to sort of be a little bit of a calm in the storm, and I would hang out with the boys. I met them when Or was, I think, 14. I think Megad was about 11 or 12, and Shafdale was like 9 or 10. So I think I knew them a little bit differently. And like I said, I sort of had a little bit of a different place in their family, in the sense that that I kind of lived with them off and on for a while, not full time, but just when she would need to leave. So I got to see family dynamics, and it was obvious just how incredible of a mother Karen was, how she did everything she could to not only make sure they were happy and taken care of and all of that, but everybody in her life. She was such a good friend. She was so positive and so strong, as Megan was saying earlier. Like, I knew she was going through some stuff, because she would tell me, I don't feel that great, or, I'm sorry, I forgot to call you back, like for days or weeks. And I was like, no, it's okay. But I have to share this, because my favorite thing was she sent me happy birthday. My birthday's on Halloween, October 31st. And she wrote me, she said, basically, she wrote me happy birthday. And then the next morning I get a text asking me if I would come help her toivel dishes. And I was like, what in the world? So I lived about 4.5 hours away from Baltimore. I'm in the Catskill Mountains of New York. And I wrote her back and I said, Karen, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I would love to come help you toivel your dishes, but I'm a few hours away. And she goes, oh my God, that wasn't for you. I'm so sorry. I feel so embarrassed. And she's like, she went to a drag show the night before with colleagues in Philadelphia. And I was just like, oh my God, of course you did. Because that was her. She was just she wasn't one thing. She was full of contradictions and juxtapositions of, living a deep spiritual life, but also loving, like drag queens. And I love that about her. And as Liz said, I don't really think I've ever met anybody who talks as fast as her, or who has as many ideas or as many thoughts all going on at the same time. And I know everyone had a certain kind of relationship with her. And I know what I'll miss the most is just my friend, the one who I could tell anything to, and just feel heard and seen and understood. And we've been through so much together for so many years. And I cherish the times that I had with the boys, and with her. And I hope she just knows how much we all love her and miss her. So that's what I want to say. Thank you for giving me the space.
Thank you, David, for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
Yes, I don't remember your name, but please.
I've met you before, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm Megan's girlfriend. I started dating Megan, it'll be 4 years ago this year. And I was really, really lucky to know Karen, and get to spend a lot of really quality family time with her while I dated Megan. And obviously I'm still dating him. But the thing about Karen that was really special to me was that she just kind of accepted people for who they were. And that was really refreshing to me, because I just don't get that from my parents. And so it was really just very cool to be able to hang out like in her apartment and just kind of be myself. And I kind of always took for granted how much that was okay with her, like kind of whatever I did. And like, it rolled off her, like she didn't care, and she didn't have judgments about it. She just kind of wanted me there, and she wanted us to hang out and have fun and be a family. And I'm very, very blessed that the last thing that she said to me was that I was like a daughter to her. And that's the last thing that she'll ever say to me. And it was perfect and awesome and beautiful. And she was just a really wonderful human being. And I'm really, 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 really lucky. And also very lucky to be very in love with her son, which is something very special that I know she was really happy about. And that'll always be really special to me.
Thank you, Sam, for sharing that. It is also very special for all of us to hear, and I'm sure for Karen. Anyone else want to say something? Carol Lee, maybe.
Yeah, I'll say a little something. I don't know. Karen was my partner in crime. She was both of us were only children. The sister I didn't have.
This is being recorded, Carol Lee. Be careful.
Okay. We were both only children, and she was the sister I didn't have. Suffice it to say, we were pregnant with our first together, and we were, before Rivka, Galia, and Orchaim were born, we road tripped it all over the place. She's like, did you know Toys R Us opened up in Haifa? She and I got in the car and we went to Haifa to go shopping for the babies. And you can only imagine how many times we got lost until we actually got there. We thought we were going to be these new parents. We were going to teach our kids, my little girl, to like boy things, and she was going to teach her boy or Chaim to like girl things. For Orchaim's first birthday, she bought him a play school house. I bought Rivka Galia a play school garage. It worked out brilliantly. When Rivka Galia was at Orchaim's house, she had the dollhouse to play with. And when he came to our house, he had the garage. I can't even begin to think of all the shenanigans and everything that we went through when her three boys and my three oldest girls were little, and how we would just literally pack them up in the car and would go down to Gush Etzion for the cherry picking festival. And we just let them pick and eat cherries. The boys were basically topless, and, Shaftiel was in his diaper, and that was it. And they just had the best times. We shared a lot of things together. When she told me that Shaftiel didn't want people coming for his bar mitzvah, and I said, well, we're coming to his Aliyah LaTorah. And Jay says to me, aren't you going to ask? I said, no way am I going to ask. I'll ask for forgiveness after we do it. And Karen was thrilled that we came, because family is what matters. And for Karen, family involved not only her three sons, who she loved from the moon to the moon and back, but to all the friends who she's turned into family. I've been thinking a lot about what I'm supposed to take from this. And I think one of the main things that from my relationship with Karen is, I don't know, Karen was a second mom to my girls at certain times. She didn't have any little girls, and she would sometimes show up with the cutest little dresses because she wanted to buy a cute little dress for someone. When Rivka Galia was 9, I sent her to Karen's house for 3 weeks. And when Orchaim was 11, he came to our house. It was, another set of mom that we shared that. I don't know, I'm going to miss her a lot.
Thanks, Carol Lee. Albany Henkin, please.
Thank you. My relationship with Karen was unfortunately more distant than those of many of those who are speaking today. But I want to tell you what makes Karen so memorable to me, and what my thoughts are at this moment. As we came into this session together, I was thinking there are two purposes of it. One is to keep Karen, excuse me, to keep Karen here a bit longer. I think that's what all of us are seeking to do with the stories, with the memories, with the sharing. We want Karen to be here together with us. And the other purpose is, we know we have a responsibility to learn from Karen. And I think I feel both of those purposes. I feel comforted because it's clear that, forgive me, it's clear that Karen is not about to be forgotten by anyone who's here. My own feelings about Karen were, I never really got over how the combination of brilliance with ebullience and non-judgmentalness, those are qualities that don't often go together. Someone who's as bright as Karen very often is somewhat remote. And that's the opposite of Karen. When she entered into the room, sunshine entered into the room together with her. It was just there, and for as long as she was in the room, the sunshine was there. A mile a minute, she was shooting good spirit around her. And I also marveled at her empathy for people, because someone who themselves suffers, and as I knew her well enough to know and to be pained by the fact that her health was imperfect. And somehow she managed to summon all of that empathy for people who, by comparison, you'd say she's carrying a much heavier package than they are. And where is she getting the empathy for people's little ills when she has she has a lot in her bag that she's carrying. Those are things that not just did I marvel at, but which now I look at Karen and I say she was here in the world for too few years, but she made a mark that enables me as a teacher to say, Karen was a teacher to me. I apologize for the emotions, but I imagine they are shared by everyone, and I thank you for the opportunity to say that.
Thank you as well.
And please, nobody apologize for expressing emotion. Yeah, please.
Okay, anyone else before a few more minutes?
Hey, Svi, I just want to say I just reached out to a few people in Israel that knew her when she lived in Efrat, and they might join, but one of them is driving. So maybe just give it a few minutes and see if.
Of course.
Yeah. It looks like there's a hand raised.
Al?
Do we have both? Are we gonna have recording for the whole thing from the beginning?
I assume. Well, with little editing.
No, I thought maybe you lost it somehow.
Oh, it was being recorded by the office, so I'm not sure.
By the what?
I think by Julie at the through Nishmat.
Maybe she recorded to the cloud. It should be easy to edit.
Yeah.
Yoram, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm finding, I think this is funny. I'm finding it a little bit difficult to get the words out. A lot of us knew Karen during the Eli years when she lived next door to me and Julie, and she bought a house by herself long before she was married. And you know, everything that everybody said about her her sparkling and brilliant personality is obviously exactly true. But that was really brave. That was a super gutsy thing to do. And so on top of all the other things that people are saying about her, she was also very brave. I actually wanted to mention how I first met Karen. I knew Karen when she was 16. And long before she was a Harvard debater, she debated for a school called Bridgewater Raritan High School, which was a high school that competed with Princeton High School, where I was a debater. And one of my first times at a tournament, maybe it was the first time, we were participating. I was participating in an event that's called extemporaneous speaking, where you're given a topic and you have time to. It's a single person event. You're given a topic and you have time to prepare, and you're allowed to walk in with research materials. The kind of person I was that I would go to a debate tournament and enter into a contest like this and not bring any research materials. And the kind of person Karen was that she walked in with a cart, like a literal trolley with boxes heaped on top of boxes, everything, every bit of news having to do with every possible subject filed in these boxes according to subject matter. And what's incredible about this time that I met her is that she had all this experience and had been working on this for years. This was one of my first tournaments, and I sat down next to her, or she sat down next to me, I don't remember. And she noticed that I didn't have a trolley with research with me on index cards. And she said, "Hi, I'm Karen. Do you want to use my research?" I mean, I'm sure she wasn't allowed to do that, but that's who she was already then. I mean, here we are, we're at this incredibly competitive thing, and we also competed in college. I competed against her when we were college debaters, but both in high school and in college, you're in the middle of this intense competition that people are all egotistical and crazy about. And if you win, then you get to, all these good things happen to you. And she didn't care. She didn't. I mean, she cared whether she won, but it was just as well if I had won. She never met me before, and she was already giving me her research. And looking back on it, it was kind of a strange friendship, because Princeton is not that close to Bridgewater, and we were competing with one another. But that welcoming personality made it possible for us to become friends anyway. I was in her house. I knew her mother. I was at her mother's funeral. And she and I were at a funeral together when a friend of hers from the Bridgewater team took his own life. So there was so much giving and so much hardship. And everything that you're describing, I mean, I guess everybody knows this already, so I don't know if it needs to be said, or maybe it shouldn't be said, but all of this outgoing, easygoing, always ready to help people, and lack of judgmentalness, all that's taking place against a background of hardship, which makes the whole thing just so much more remarkable and miraculous for the time that she was here, that she was able to hold hold these wonderful personality traits together in the face of so much difficulty. I guess Rabbi Henkin said this as well. Anyway, it was incredibly moving to have this friend and rival move in next door and share those years with us. And I'm sorry that we weren't in touch so much in recent years.
Thank you, Yoram. Anyone else want to share?
Can I say something?
Of course.
So despite our shared last name, we are not related. But I met Karen only a few years ago in Gush Etzion when I made Aliyah. And she and I quickly became friends through the Raise Your Spirits Theater and beyond. And then we kept in touch when she moved back to America. And I just always, it's hard to imagine, and I think a lot of people here are feeling the same thing, like it's hard to imagine that she's not going to be commenting on the next conversation or talking about the next latest political issue or trend in the world. Like it's hard for us to imagine Karen not being here because she's always been such a present and intelligent and sane voice, no matter what was happening around us. And it's really, it's a tremendous loss. You know, she was such a special, kind, warm, and down-to-earth person. And I just really appreciated our friendship. And I'm just sorry that I didn't have more of a chance with her. And I'm sure we all feel the same.
Yeah, I think that captures a lot, Javi, that we all feel like a kind of, everyone on their own level sort of missed opportunities that we have to deal with now on our own, sort of, or together. And
I'll say a quick something in addition to everything else. Another facet to Karen was she was very proficient in the kitchen. And there were many meals we spent around Karen's table, starting in Ely back in 1994, it seems so long ago, up until when I think one time when she was in Baltimore the first time, we also spent time with her around the table, and she was by us. And the last time we were together was Carolee's at a Seder just 3 years ago, I think. It wasn't that long ago. The last time she was in Israel, we are around the table for a Pesach Seder. But being in her house, it was just like the food. She was always just a whole array and a whole, like, you think of like her mind, there's so many different parts and it came out in her food, and she really cooked well. It didn't just look good, it tasted good. So I'm just adding that facet in because a lot of love can be felt in the way someone cooks and presents and how you feel it around the table. So I'm just adding that.
I think that's kind of a representation of an interesting and unique balance here that's been sort of raised in different ways, of kind of a combination of on the one hand perfectionism, and on the other hand totally being down to earth in a very rare combination.
Yeah, I would say she was very cerebral, but she was also not at the expense of also being totally down to earth. She was somebody who was just not pretentious, you know, and other people like her maybe could have been, but she was great. And the food was amazing, Heather. You're right. She was a really good cook.
I remember she used to make challahs ahead of time and put them in the freezer when she would go away. And she'd be gone for like sometimes a week and a half, 2 weeks. And she would make sure, and there would be chicken soup already pre-cooked. And then she'd go chicken soups in the freezer, challahs in the freezer, make sure the boys, you know that's in there, and make sure they're fed and try and get Shaftiel to shower. But I wanted to say one more thing. I got to spend some time with her in New York City a few years ago when I was still living in Manhattan. And she just said, hey, I'm in the city. She was either seeing a Broadway show and she knows I'm obviously, I don't particularly do Broadway, but she knows I'm very much involved in the different TV, film, and theater aspects in industry in New York. So we're always talking about Broadway shows, of course. But I met her at this like little hotel she was staying at, and we just sat there and talked for a couple of hours, and she caught me up on all the boys, what's going on in everybody's life. And it was just the best, just sort of like, just, what's the right word? Just presence of this person, that of everything that everybody's saying is all true. And we all knew her in different ways, but just to have that time of like, kind of like what Sam said, just sitting and talking and just having her share whatever's on her mind and whatever she's feeling. I just really cherish that. And I think she would get a really big kick out of us doing this. I think she'd be really jazzed that, and she's such a humble person, but I think she would be incredibly touched and moved that we're all sharing what she meant to us and about her incredible life.
I want to add one more thing that just crossed my mind. And Megan, you might know this already better than I do, but your mom really loved the beach. And so she was incredibly excited, like when I married a man who lives on the beach. But if you like the beach, some people aren't beach people, but and even if I didn't live on the beach, the invitation would be open, but you are always welcome here. I'm not just saying that to be polite. I bet that's true of everybody here on this Zoom. Many are in Israel, so it's like it's a little bit of more of a haul, but I'm right here in Bell Harbor, and our door is always open if you want to come and just have some peaceful time, enjoy the beach that your mom loved so much. And also get smothered by some also very good homemade cooking. You and your brothers and Sam.
Thank you.
Okay. If people are feeling that whoever want to had a chance to express themselves, I think this has been a very important tribute. I think, as Rabbi Henkin said, also to keep Karen with us a little bit longer, but also a lot that we can all learn from her midot, and the importance of community. Unfortunately, virtual, but I guess that has some advantages as well for bringing people together across Atlantic, etc. So, with everyone's permission, the Zichra Shel Karen will say good evening in Yerushalayim, or have a good rest of the day.
Can I just
America,
I just want
Shavua Tov, yes.
I ask. I've just been feeling kind of alone the past few days, and I'd welcome if anyone wants to contact me, please. I'm on Facebook. I may not answer right away, but I do appreciate it when a few people have called me, and it really helped. I have a hard time reaching out, but when people reach in to me, it means a lot. And I'm not sitting Shiva, so it's been a tough few days, kind of and lonely. And I just want to thank everybody that spoke, because just about everything that they said, I remembered other things that I could have said too, but like about the cooking, everything reminded me of something. The beach, the cooking, the drag stuff. It's like, yeah, that was my experience too, and I feel like it spoke to me. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for your openness, and we will try to follow up on that. Everyone in their own way. Thank you, Sadiq.
Thank you, Rav Leshem, for enabling all of us to share and to express love.
Thanks for the opportunity. Yes. It was an honor. Okay. Shavua Tov, everyone. Besorot Tovot. Should meet on happier occasions also.
Thank you. All my love.
Thank you so much. Kol Tuv.